Hear, hear with your ears. Weird. Welcome to the New Orleans Poetry Festival 2023. This is the first event, Locals Night. We got a bunch of local writers from in town and from out of town, but all kinds of local things that they're going to do with us this evening. This is the first event we're doing this weekend. Tomorrow night, we have another event at Tulane's Waldenberg Arts Center. It's going to be all Brazilian poets, so please come check that out tomorrow night. And then Saturday night at Cafe Istanbul, we got Tehima Just and Harmony Holiday as our main event. And there's also a kick-ass book fair. There's also kick-ass panels, readings all day, Saturday and Sunday at the Healing Center. So we'd like to thank y'all for showing up tonight, showing out, getting some cocktails. Please buy as many drinks as your partner will allow, because some of the proceeds will go into New Orleans Poetry Fest to keep it free. If you want to donate even more, on the back of the programs, there are some Venmo donations, a $10 and $20 one, and a donate what you can on PayPal as well. All donations in any forms are appreciated. If you want to buy a poet a drink, nothing wrong with that. If you want to buy me a drink, nothing wrong with that. Even better indeed. All right, so I'm going to bring up another Splice cat out here, Henry Goldkamp, to introduce our first poet of the evening. Henry, come on up.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for coming. Our first poet this evening, let's go. Christian Lee was born in New Orleans, but raised in the 225. He recently graduated from the University of New Orleans. He's a bike rider, skateboarder, soccer player, cat dad, chess enthusiast, and a drifter. Along with his many interests, he enjoys poetry. In 2022, he was a featured reader with Liminal Lit and a recipient of the Ryan Chighizola Memorial Scholarship for Poetry. Give it up for Christian Lee.
It's an honor to be here tonight, to see so many faces. Wow, this place is packed. Thank you to Rodrigo and to Henry for this opportunity. First poem I'll be reading is called Freudian Flash. And a bang knocks on wood. Yes, it's water under the bridge. The river was your womb, a forgotten wet dream. A four-letter word, look, a swooping dove. With a thump, a fog-coated memory, a light flicks on, you turn off. Tell me what's hurting you. Miss me with those carnal eyes. Mouthing words and drowning waves, yes, it happens still. Yes, rain check the sunset. Gravity, larger than life, clings to every hour. Give me a moment. Wasn't able to crank all of my poems tonight. Ode to Laura. Shovel in hand, wet dirt and sand. Man, I appreciate this sandy marsh. One summer, the whole neighborhood took a cruise. Literally, not figuratively, swim in space meant to walk. The slick light show, the boat, the white westie in hand, and this exfoliating dream. Scattered white bags need to be filled. There's always water, seasonal worry. Yet today there's a white guy from California who isn't used to the wet. Help is what he looks for. Southern hospitality must be a rumor. Look, a few shovels more and suddenly a whole world, a grain of sand. It's grit up against flesh, just, I think, a few shovels more. I bend down, shovel in hand. I feel my bags of sand. I feel a little lucky. It's the little things, I think. My God, at least it's not cotton. After I play soccer, I begin with the unsheathing of my cleats, their tongues engraved in German letters and German memory, that spell by Rachmaninoff, love, sorrow. Then the unslipping of my socks, the meshing of my toes against old linoleum floors, which cover a beautiful hardwood base. I slither to the bathroom door, glance at the ground on my face, a plush plop as I drop my shorts. Sounds like a bouquet of flowers kissing feet to those unwed. A steaming teapot as I turn the knob of a rusty faucet. A simple gesture, mechanical device, showers me in love. I find joy. Rinse, repeat. To Veronica. Subject line, work today. Veronica, hi. I won't be coming in today. The weather has been unkind. I mean, the weather has had an unkind effect on me. I would prefer to be in bed or at the lake. The sky is as cast as a spell, cloudy and magically compelling. I said that to say, the autumn breeze is quite nice today, and the waves, I imagine, are causing quite a ruckus. The men are out sailing their boats. Those skippers navigate the waters in quite a youthful fashion. Contrary-wise, I imagine the day would be better spent in nature than under those bleak and pointy fluorescent lights. I imagine I prefer to write a poem or crash against rocks like those brown muddy waves, or fly away with the autumn breeze like a bird. What do you call those things down at Pontchartrain? Seagulls, pelicans, egrets? I realize I'm emailing you 3 minutes before my shift begins, but I spent a few moments thinking of all the things I could be doing aside from work. I imagine we all do the same. I prefer to get paid, but simply not getting fired would work too. About half an hour ago, the wind gently, brutally caressed my entire being. The autumn breeze carried with it nostalgia, a remembrance of what I'm unsure. It was quite a show and gripped my countenance. I was simply moved to tears, but perhaps it was my allergies. Better and more effective than any keto diet I've ever tried, I felt 20 pounds lighter, as if the wind up and swept the presence of gravity away. Utterly embraced by cold winds, nothing else reminds me of mortality in such a somber, omnidirectional way. Well, aside from Janet's cold disposition at work. I do hope the doctors are able to give her a new knee. On days like this, I just get a little emotional, a little unlike myself. I prefer people watching instead of speaking with them today. I believe it best the patrons do not see me this way. Did you know that without skyscrapers, the skyline could just gobble you whole? Well, gobbled I was. It certainly wasn't consensual. In fact, I'm sure we've all encountered that uninvited, pesky guest called weather. I hope my absence does not cause any inconvenience. And whether I'll be coming in tomorrow, oh heaven only knows. Do let me know. I'm unsure of how long the weather will be unkind, but I believe it will certainly be unkind tomorrow too. After all, the arrival of a hurricane can last a few days, and Florida just begs for trouble. I willed myself for the unkindness. Today, well, I was just caught by surprise, and well, I hear the flying fish are quite a stare, hopping and flopping about, the crashing waves being a sort of paradise for them. I find myself a little envious. Isn't it ironic to be envious of a fish? a flying fish to boot. But anyhow, I hear this is the best of all possible worlds, so it's possible everything is as it should be. Do get back to me when you get a chance. I just thought it a shame if I would have missed the conclusion of this gorgeous orange lilac sunset. Work will be here tomorrow, and the morrow after that, and forever hence. Did you know that work will always exist? Isn't that lovely? At one point, I imagined myself a seamstress or an architect. For now, I think I'll enjoy the lake. I do think you'll find my decision to be most rational. This particular sunset will only exist for a short while. Whether I go to bed or to the lake, both would be better than work. I think you'll agree. Enjoy your day in your office. Sincerely. Shock and meditation. Feeling like 10 dead dogs. Blew this, blew that. Little black boy, like a moth, flocks to the flash of a bullet. The color of his flesh, a name etched holographic across headlines. His mother worried sick, his grades, his livelihood, his skin. No serrated edge to cut through the narrative, crushed like windpipe. Dogged, detonating glints, fractured air in tricolor, gunmetal blue, red, white. His essence, a soundscape for violence. Kids will be kids, will be kids. Until they're dead, the hills are alive. The block is hot. It's the sound of a flash. Bang. Blue blew his brains out. My cup runneth over, shot like a thief in the night.
Christian. Next up, we have Christine Kwon. Is a Korean American poet and fiction writer. Her debut poetry collection, A Ribbon, The Most Perfect Blue, won the Cowles Poetry Prize and was published by Southeast Missouri State University Press 2 weeks ago. New work is forthcoming in Copper Nickel, the Tusculum Review, and the Xavier Review. She lives on St Roch Avenue.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. Thank you to Sean, my poetry godmother. He gets me every gig I ever have. Where is he? Sean, come listen to this. Okay. My friend Sam said that I was gonna read 4, but he was like, in feng shui, 3 is a good number. And I was like, you're right. Less is always. I like to at least be the shortest one. All right. So I'm reading 3 and they get shorter and shorter. All right. I've been having a lot of really bad anxiety these days. My husband knows I'm a mess. So this is an anxiety poem. And it's about Franz Wright, who's a poet I really like. 3 in the morning. For Franz Wright. Franz comes down the stairs. He's dead. He pulls his red wool scarf from his neck, leaves an angry red mark. He's my desktop picture. He shouldn't be, but I keep changing it back. The words only come when I'm staring at his tortured face. I can't get past page 11 of your book, I say. He sits in the armchair by the front door. Cold out. Blue lines the door like the poltergeist. But branches and limbs aren't flying out there. The night is still outside. But this is not what I wanted to give you. The night wrapped in plastic. This night is ours. For hours I've been sending letters, fingers covered in blue, tongue chapped from glue. For hours Franz has been coming down the stairs. I've read somewhere in a dark hole that you shouldn't feel bad when you feel crazy, feel blessed. Madness is the same visitor that visited Nietzsche, Van Gogh, Edna St. Vincent Millay, and Dear Plath. Sylvia spiraled when she didn't get in, when she got rejected, when Ted went and fucked someone named Asia. For hours I've been staring at the wall. I don't spiral, I fall straight through. I stare at the cemetery across the street. The blue of its walls calls to me. The white of the camellia blossoms write my name in the dark. And I fall for hours. I read Ecclesiastes, Rilke, HD for hours until the birds start singing, until their voices are rivers running through me. At 6, a cheerful man will drive up to open the block gates of the cemetery, the names all filled with blue. I know the names in winter. And with the sun, they'll blanch again, become almost invisible in the sparkling stone. Franz knows all the names too. In this world that is ours for hours and hours, names are all that remain. He has taught me all I know about night, how to stitch my name in white at the hem of air, how to fall pacing, how to fall lying down, how to fall reading. I read that Elena Ferrante doesn't sleep either. She quits cigarettes, but she reads and writes for hours. Ah, Franz, how much solace do I get that this night world is ours? Mine alone, I couldn't survive the hours and hours. I live in night and the color of it, the color of rain, the rage, the stillness, the translucent petals blinking, the wet eyelashes clamped shut in the word for hours and hours. Thank you for visiting Franz, for the madness and the flowers. I'll throw it out later. I had a book come out very recently. From a fucking university press. Anyways, I brought 5 copies out tonight. They're some of my last sad little author copies that they give you as part of your prize. So if you want one of those special ones, come find me. I'm going to read you one from my book. Then I'm going to read one that I wrote right before coming here. And it still doesn't have its last line, but I'm still going to read it. And if you come up with the last line, come find me. Okay. This one, okay. White Room. All the colors in this poem are from Benjamin Moore, by the way. Okay. My husband's addicted to painting the house. He spends hours and hours on the Benjamin Moore website. Okay. And all the names in the poem are real. Okay, from Benjamin Moore. White Room. I wanted the room to look like a white peony dropped in the snow. The trim white, the walls white. I bought 9 whites. Gardenia, Chantilly lace, mayonnaise, bone white, Navajo white, mascarpone, and some shone blue like a lady in the attic's wrist, and some ivory. But none had the virgin's pink cheek I was looking for. Staffordshire dogs, chinoiserie, Chinese farmers toiling on the linen duvet, my white husband. Lining up the porcelain dogs, I can only say I fetishize it. Some mornings I wake up and I'm Edith Head, brewing with a dark face on the sofa. Husband cowering in the corner like a spider. Sometimes I'm Scarlet with a slap in my hand. But show me any white girl driving and I'll swear on my grave there's no attraction. Still, once in a while in a restaurant, one girl in her headband and Angora sweater will stop me. A white peony dropped in the snow. And this, I never sit in nature, but I sat in nature. And I wrote a poem. And really, I need one more line because each 4 stanzas and each has the same amount of lines except the last one. So, oh my God. This poem is incomplete, no title. All right, last poem. It's so hot the swamp is rotting. Why have all the swan boats not flown away? Why are the white herons not flying wherever they go to desert us? Forget script, the children don't know their own names. They take up the whole page as if the universe is pulling them apart. After the parade, the son of a cop ran down 9 bikers. I walked past their bodies on the ground. That same season, a woman was severed in half. She was picking up beads thrown from a masked rider. The bedsheet the cops tented over her quickly bloomed red. No more spring or fall. There are 2 seasons now. Red flames or blue flames, hot or icy hot. Why do the hairless squirrels chase one another up the tree? Soon, no more acorns, flowers, bees. I stopped the child from stamping out a caterpillar. There will be nothing to eat up your body when you're dead, I said. The only thing worse than rotting is not rotting. No hole for the soul to escape from. I'm the best kind of teacher. Just bring us the beignets and frozen coffees and syrupy ice. What matter if our eyes and feet and hands rot still attached? If our feet crystallize white dust like uber sweet fruit? It's not like we go for a walk. Let's stay home and grade the students' papers. They don't know left from right or how to tie their shoes. When they grow up, they want to be viral stars. Maybe they will sprout tentacles where their hands and feet used to be, and the shoe industry will boom. And we will only see what's visible in blue light. No one has children anymore anyway. There's no one left to teach them. All the teachers have perished under the bridges. The mayor moved their tents from the park. When they approach my car, I fiddle with the radio. Refugee children in Sweden have fallen into comas and won't wake up. They're perfectly healthy otherwise, sleeping beauties waiting. Once their parents gain citizenship, they wake up and go to school. What a terrible dream, they say, blinking like goldfish. And I need one more line.
Keep that applause going for Christine. Next up, one of my favorite poets in the city, Cameron Lovejoy, is a printer. He's a printer, he's a publisher, and editor at Tilted House. You should check it out. It's a fantastic journal. Some Tilted House folks in the house tonight? Oh yeah. It's a small press here in New Orleans. One day it'll be a big press. His work has appeared in the Columbia Review, Diagram Feud, Bayou Magazine, and more. Please welcome Cameron Lovejoy to the stage.
Thank you, Sean, and the New Orleans Poetry Festival, and for Christian and Christine for kicking us off. Let's hear it for them one more time. If I talk like this, is that enough?
Yes. Or not, I guess not. Sorry. More.
I have 4 poems on space. They have no titles. We go on a date to the incinerator. All the books are there, gang-banging like hummingbirds in Garland. All the words and the stories and covers and the cover-up stories rise in trench coats of smoke. Sometimes we need to make space for new art. Sometimes the fire is freezing. The district attorney calls in with a revised definition of new art. But the new artists cut the line and do one. And the ones who work in picas hold the poet's hands across traffic, embalming a lamb, eating jam toast with mint. Museums are burned down and resurrect as cafes. Cafes are burned down and resurrect as pillows. We hold hands like two slugs fucking. The inferno is noble and cartwheels across our picnic like missiles. I show you with my tongue, I can twist a knot in a cherry stem, and you do the same with a banana peel. Poem number 2. Typography performs in the amphitheater at dusk. A moon, compact disc on repeat. Repeat customers of customary margins, open air, open sky of pink cirrus, moving slantwise. Someone takes a photograph. Someone turns a photograph. Someone makes a homophone of the setting sun. The amphitheater is a yawning mouth featuring the apertures of letters, the openings of the C or the S signifying space, or the A, but not the A in italics or the letter O at all. So much information moves through the opening of an eye. The brain like a sponge with all its little holes. Trypophobia's typoflem, bubbles and a cup of coffee. Oh, 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 oh. The overture begins, filling the wind with swords, and the audience gawks ahead of lotus seeds. This next poem actually has a title. I've been thinking a lot about three-dimensional space, specifically the 3D graph, but also the dimension of time and how in space, in outer space, time is warped. Time as we know it gets warped. And then here on Earth, how meditation also warps time as we experience it from day to day, in this sort of collapsing of clock time that happens when we're extremely alert. So the L in this poem represents the two lines of a three-dimensional graph. Three-dimensional birds. In meditation, the breadth of holes in bread, a need, a camel, an L, the space or dimension missing in the L is only 2. Suppose typography can change this, but this L is a wingless dove, is less a flightless thing, more a lessened less is more lesson, like how the shallow breathers still sustained, just not as needy. Not to need as in the batter glue, but need as in the legs of time. The L for lung or love, whatever is between the two. Thanks so much for having me and listening. This is, wow, it's beautiful. This is my last poem. Thanks so much for listening. This also has a title. Am I touching the page I turn? Adams, Fred Moten's The Feel of Atoms, Maintaining Space, Motes, A Thing Between Two Things, a trio. Thank you.
All right, let's keep it going for M.A. Nicholson. M.A. Nicholson is a New Orleans poet, editor, and educator. Her writing appears or is forthcoming in Best New Poets 2022, Tilted House Review, heyo, Diode Poetry Journal, New Orleans Review, Talking River Review, and elsewhere. An alumna of Loyola University and an M.F.A. graduate from the University of New Orleans, where she served as associate poetry editor for Bayou Magazine. M.A. was the recipient of the 2021 Andrea-Saunders Garrity Academy of American Poets Award and is the co-founder of Liminal Lit, an arts organization focused on offering free workshops, readings, and residencies. Connect with her at www.michellenicholsonpoetry.com. Give it up for M.A. Nicholson.
Thank you so much, Henry. All right, so I have this little opener. I get so nervous. I want to start by expressing my big gratitude for Splice. Yeah, let's do that. Thank you, Splice. Thank you, Splice. All the Splice guys, and all of the members of our community who have shown up, as they always do, and that includes all of the people who actually have shown up, because this community is clearly a nationwide community. I have 4 poems. Today's the last day of my 44th year, you guys. So I have 2 old and 2 new. I'm going to do those in opposite order because that is what I do. Yeah. And they are sort of just inspired by this city and my origins here and the music of this place. And really, you know, I like to dedicate my readings, and so I am dedicating this to our real source and the real reason why we are all here, which is the river to my left. Yeah, our source and our origin. She's rising. And so actually this first poem is for one of our new locals, because this is all about renewal. Not whether, but when the river rises. Thank you, Daniel Lee. How simple the miracle of a memory of sky. Memory of stars, courtyard framed, sheltered from light in the city, invisible. Remembering the swamp, remembering at its door, at its skirt, at the tip of its tongue, is a language not lost, but unuttered, felt. A steady strum, the vocals of our river resounding from the amphitheater of New Orleans, hallowed acoustic, clap of so many feet over cobble, over time, the city's voice in sync to these harmonizing echoes where the earth sinks as it rises, the river's wake remembers it was more than once a flood. On charters with Peddless John the Baptist. Here is the church. Here is the steeple. Open up, see all the people. or your own hand, or jot notes cadenced by acid jazz, etched grooves to trace on blank, plain paper. Worship is the same as conversation or loose change recovered from the backspace, a bar, the floor between here and there, resisting erasure to supply the demand of thirsty throats chasing lyrics like Cain and the breaks marking fertile lands, for carving ancient reeds, for fishing, or for bending breath to herald, welcoming, absorbing the title, parting waves to drum gentle, a projection to activate your inner ear. Just a few notches, angled and intersecting incisions may pierce the woody exterior, carve a path for sweet sap, what green renders sunlight, what green offers, not a stalk, but a staff to chew upon, to suck dry, to convert a form into an instrument, into sustenance, delivering song. The Ballad of Double D. Do you know Double D? You know Double D? Yeah. It's the old one. Okay. When Double D returned the first time, he arrived at our annual Christmas party, a brand new man, an incarnation, shiny as the 6-inch buckle twanging below his banded Stetson. His boots, too, were made of skin and curved faintly toward the popcorn ceiling. The fool. He wasn't Rustin, trading in his training in controlled flight, pilot lessons for trailer life, coupon clipping, square cubes floating on 4 fingers of bourbon. His lover had given him a real fancy accent. And yeah, you bet she sure could cook good. Oven brisket, barbecue, no box macaroni, fresh corn on the cob, all that butter his mama wouldn't let him eat straight from the tub. But her baby wasn't his, and country was never suited for jazzy sax, electric guitar, his first love, native tongue, the home that followed him on the road, leather repelling the open heavens, rubber gripping hot to the highway to show hipsters in St. Louis how he'd play their instruments if he were them. Had to trade it all in, exactly like the van that broke down on that last trip, cause maybe the condom broke and maybe it didn't. But the Mandeville rich still practice shotgun weddings, even if the man is of such low stock. He's never seen a blanket ladder. After all, working class works. So he worked for her. Credit cards and indentured servitude for a mortgage her father paid. He toiled. He teetered for a decade. She got 4 degrees, 4 kids, alimony. He got time. He got free. He also got a TikTok account, a room at his parents' place in Picayune, and a 12-gauge ear piercing, a silver hoop. This time, he showed up on my front porch, Black Friday, with a steel string acoustic, soul patch, and a bottle of peanut butter whiskey. We were playing Uno like our elders once did, circled around the dining room table, smoking bud instead of tobacco, when he gave thanks for enduring the incident. The kind our Uncle Harry and Cousin Leslie didn't. I asked him, what made him, standing at the lake's edge, decide not to do it? He said, I didn't. The safety, inexplicably, was on. He took that as a sign he was mistaken. He was alive. He could still go home. I told him I agree. How I knew. How the dream life becomes dream walking. How we rise, eyes wide open. How we rise from ditches, breathing water. I'm gonna play some more. 4. Radio signal from Alpha Canis Major. Whether you are Chaldea or over those deserts, Egypt, glimpse us beside the Milky Way, a light. Within our wobbling orbits, we're rerouting age-old myths, quiet, fire hot. We've known the swell of bliss eclipsed our Sirius B. Cygnus made a love called supernova, a mortal rendered her Eve. Don't we like to think we float beyond such scorched horizons, but we grasp mere reflections for sight. Know this. Globes will frizzle as we are gathering worlds. After all, stones are small and sinking. Children conceive positions, the heavens assign names, imagining fixed systems. Nevertheless, we draw near from far. And though this song will end, we mash with soul, twist circles round Luna, and tap a terrestrial tango. Never after.
All right, y'all, keep it going further than Nicholson. I think it's really incredible that all of us have hearts in our chests that beats blood around our bodies. That's all I'll say about that. Let's take 10 to 15.
Roxi Power is a poet who teaches at the University of California, Santa Cruz. She founded and edits the trans-genre anthology series Viz Inter Arts and has been a long-time labor activist. She has an M.F.A. in poetry from Cornell and a forthcoming book, The Songs That Objects Would Sing. It's finishing line press. Roxi performs Neo-Benshi around the country, including the Provincetown Tennessee Williams Festival, the Red Cat Theater in Los Angeles, and the St. Mark's Poetry Project and elsewhere. She is a total friend to New Orleans, and let's welcome Roxi Power.
Nancy is my wingman. She just makes sure that my wings are straight. So, thank you so much, God. It's so great to look out and see all you funky New Orleans poets, poet lovers, and sensitive types. I love this city. I'm from Santa Cruz. I kind of want to move here. I don't know, but thanks to Bill Lavender, Rodrigo Toscano, Sean Monroe, and Henry Goldkamp for inviting me to perform my live film narration, which is the politically correct way of saying Neo-Benshi. So I think that's an appropriation of the term Benshi, which was the film teller. During the silent film era, she screams into the other room. During the silent film era of Japan, in Japan and Korea, the Benshi would stand to the side of the screen in full regalia and ventriloquize or otherwise narrate the action of the film. There were tens of thousands of them. They were more popular than the directors and the actors. Never caught on in the United States because we like our producers taking control over things, and certainly not into hybrid this, that, or the other, but I kind of am into hybrid this, that, or the other, and published this transgenre anthology series out of UC Santa Cruz where I teach Viz Inter Arts, and you can learn about Neo-Benshi by buying one of these, and also Rodrigo published this really great piece called The Laboristics of Poetry Conferences. Both of us are labor activists. Anyway, I got in on the first wave of Neo-Benshi in 2003 in San Francisco when my friend Conrad Steiner invited a bunch of experimental poets to turn down the volume of an existing film and narrate their own thing over an excerpt in a cabaret setting such as this. The first script I wrote was to Rebel Without a Cause. I've done Metropolis and Miss Lulu Beth, which is the prequel to A Streetcar Named Desire. No time to do that one tonight, but so I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So Miss Lulu Bet is an early feminist silent film based on the Pulitzer Prize winning play of the same name by Zona Gale. Lulu Bet's brother-in-law, it's a bunch of evil brother-in-laws, Streetcar Named Desire, right? Turns her into a servant. As family cook, Lulu creates potions or pharmacons, you'll hear that word a lot in this piece, that extend life. His young daughters, Blanche, who is Lulu's apprentice, and Stella, who is Daddy's girl, and signs with Daddy, are part of Lulu. Tennessee Williams visits and teaches Lulu how to enact magic without food, using drag instead. He brings his magic suitcase and then he gives it to Blanche, who then has it on the ready in this particular piece. So I needed to let you know a little bit about that. That the drag is magic. I think you'll get that. So I've collaged words from Kenneth Cope, the New York School Poets. One train may hide another train, which I love, and Derrida for dummies, into my original script. As Stella says, all language is stolen. Stella explains the pharmacon as both Plato and Derrida did as both cure and poison. That is how the invention of writing was characterized by Thoth. I hope I said that right, the Egyptian god. He thought that it would rot the memory, much as we're concerned about these days with ChatGPT, right? So if you're young and somehow have not seen A Streetcar Named Desire, you must. Key plot points. Blanche Dubois visits her sister, Stella, on Elysian Fields Street in New Orleans after she's been cast out of her home in Laurel, Mississippi for prostitution. Her forefathers have fornicated away all their money and their plantation. Angered that Blanche lost the plantation, Stanley sends her to a mental institution after he rapes her. It's a really lighthearted plot. This is the return of the repressed Blanche, or is it Blanche, to get her revenge? Kind of like The Golden Girls, also based on Streetcar, Blanche moves to Florida with her buddies instead of going to an asylum. A student of mine taught me that, I had no idea. One last, in case you're too young to remember Deepwater Horizon. Raise your hand if you remember that. The largest marine oil spill in history by BP Oil 13 years ago next week. Off the Louisiana shore, BP drilled 18,000 feet into rock, 5,000 feet under the ocean, on your shorelines. They said they didn't have the technology to fix a cap if it bust. And it did bust. And 60,000 barrels of oil a day, 5 million by 3 months later, July 12th, we watched it on TV day after day, and you lived through it. Laura Mullen, who used to teach at LSU, documents that in a performance piece of this book. And there's blurry footage of the leaking valve in my show. It's hard to tell what it is. And at the end, oil covering the surface of the ocean. And now, Neo-Benshi Streetcar, but don't turn it on yet, Sean, hold on. Don't you hate it when people say, and now, and then they're like, wait. Now, wait. Okay. Hit it, Sean. Have you hit it? Okay, back from the dead. Again. Hurricanes, floods, oil spills. I seem to be resilient, like a cat with yet more lives. Tennessee called me a demonic creature. The size of my feeling was too big for me to contain. He should talk. Elia Kazan called me an outdated creature approaching extinction, like a dinosaur. And here I am, back from beyond fossilized meanings of this iconic script with new drag, that of New Orleans itself, with my cheap Mardi Gras trinkets and costumes designed to distract from their transformative magic. Brought back from Deepwater to Horizon. It sounds like a hopeful place. It's not. The floating world, corpses float down the streets after a bad storm here. And all the stories spawned by all these zombies, ghosts, undead. Like Anne Rice, bad literature. I've survived that too. In a poem, one line may hide another line, as at a crossing, one train may hide another train. That is, if you're waiting to cross the tracks, wait for one moment at least after the first train is gone. And so when you read, wait until you've read the next lines. Then it's safe to go on reading. In a family, One sister may hide another sister. Therefore, when you're courting, it's best to have them all in view. Ready or not, here I come. One idea may hide another. To always in motion lose nothing, although beneath the rainway they move in twos and threes like moving pictures. One train may hide another train, and the desire that keeps all these trains, cars, streetcars going. Some girls give themselves over to a husband, some to God. But girls will be girls, a fixed sign. And boys will be the zig, the zag, crossing, recrossing thresholds, looking for signs, words that shimmer long enough to turn into a sentence, sewing opposition into a seamless realm. No final resting point. Only Poe, Edgar Allan Poe, would appreciate this. Elysian fields. Between neither heaven nor hell. A place one could remain. The transport. All Stanley has to do is not kill anybody while he brings it home to Mama. My Frankenstein monster conveying my metaphors this time. Layers of them. Deep sea treasure or wood? We'll see. Last heavy lifting I'll do for that crackpot. Yeah, kind of drag your sister-in-law came back. What for? Stella says she's on a writing retreat to calm her nerves from last time after I sent her through the, loony bin? You got it. Be nice this time. Narlin says heavy baggage. We'll help her unpack it when what's in here. Not much, honey. Just drag. I just did. That's far enough. I'm starved. I mean, inside there's track. Never mind. You just eat or refuel, and I will too on this. So what kind of name is Narlin's? Metaphor. After that last catastrophe, she's reinventing herself on this retreat. Oh, from reality? From those who strip her of complexity. I'll buy her some makeup. She looks like an old drag queen or zombie who should be killed for good. Don't go there, Stanley. You can't kill. You must resolve a zombie. It breaches the life-death divide. But Blanche wants to be undecidable rather than a symbol of Tennessee's sister Rose. She found a new pharmacon better than Xanax. It's writing. Pharmacose? Pharmacose means scapegoat. Don't go there again, Stanley. Pharmacon is like a magic potion, both cure and poison, and undecidable. Unlike speech, writing is a break in presence, a death, in this case, of the author. Oh, so you're saying Sister Blanche doesn't want to feel boxed in just in time for Mardi Gras? To play around with a little drag? That's her magic. Well, what's underneath all that drag? Let's extract some truth. We can extract words and graft them onto other language. You mean steal someone else's words? All writing is stolen words. There's only one version of the story, the original. All this drag is a copy for which there's no original, an empty dress. Nobody can return from beyond and rewrite the story. Now give me the naked truth. No such thing. To reveal, we must conceal. She's reiterating herself with help from some letters that she found. I want to know what's at the bottom of that trunk. Letters from who? Tennessee. He thinks he made her, but she's revising. Ow, Stanley! Hidden beneath all this catty corner stuff. Who is he, she, they, whatever. Cheap Mardi Gras costumes. That's how she makes her magic. And what's this? An enchantress's solid gold cape. This one must be a magic fox fur. Once a wild old familiar. Bitches help her pass over. Oh, to the other side. Looks blanched to me. Blanched language, etiolation, merely quotational. Well, you quote me on this. If anyone writes her down, it'll be me. I'm going to get underneath this whole mystery. Oh, looky here, the heart of New Orleans. Treasure chest for a pirate. Distractions. Oh, the hopes of them. Who's she distracting? The deep sea diver with her solid gold heart? Heart is a paleonymic, old word, new meanings. Yeah, her heart's as real as these diamonds. Without a copy, there'd be no real one. How does she cross back into reality? Through glass, mirrors mostly. Well, she can keep her heart of glass with chains of stolen baubles. Maybe I'll write my way out of this ditch, something original. Writing is the ditch, and there's nothing original. If Blanche can still revise the script, so can I. Last time she lost Belle Reve, I'll write some deeds back in. Belle Rêve, a beautiful dream, a trace. Language slips in and out of what's there and not there. I'm not here, and neither will you be when she gets out of the shower. Since when do you make the speeches around here? Writing merely derives from speech, but I dare you to do without it. I like to see Blanche do without it. Smoke and mirrors. My second cloud of steam in less than an hour. Hello, Stanley. I feel like I died and came back to life again. Well, that's good. I feel like a brand new human being. You mind if I cross a dress? Go ahead. I'll just be a moment. Oh. Thank you. All dragged down. A bigger spill could cause irreparable harm. Looks like somebody has a sartorial itch to scratch before Mardi Gras. I'm not your size, Stanley, but I can connect you to a wonderful seamstress. Otherwise, you can do a lot with feather boas. What were you looking for? Stoll told me about some letters you found proving what a victim you are and how you plan to become the hero in your own little romantic comedy. I don't know about that, but I thought I might write a few lines of endearing poesy. Some throwaway lines, huh? Let's draw the curtains on the charade, Blanche. I love charades. I'll go first. 2 words starting with D and H. A metaphor for bringing what's buried to light. Still no answer? You're not very good at this game. DH. Drill harder? Well, I have my own game called Words or Deeds, and I hear you have some valuable ones buried in your trunk. Die hard? Wrong again. I hear you found evidence to remake your character so deep it's untouchable. Such as what? Don't place the dumb. You know what? All right. Cards on the table. I know I fib a good deal. After all, a woman's charm is 50% illusion. But when the thing's important, I tell the truth. And this is the truth. Deepwater horizon. A riddle that shouldn't be solved. Dangerous to dredge what's buried in my heart. Where are the papers that give all these rights? Why not rifle about for deeds to more defunct property like last time? The only thing you'll find of worth deep inside me is poetry. That and letters from him. Don't concern you. I keep my legal papers in this tin box. What's underneath? Poems and letters, yellowing with antiquity from Tennessee, revealing that underneath I'm really quite undecidable. Oh, well, what does he say about me? Don't touch. I'll burn them. Everything I am inside described in those letters to Rose. His sister in the loony bin? He modeled me after himself, I mean her. Her father had her lobotomized after he compromised her. Romantics who never stood a chance with people like you. And here they are, worthless deeds along with Mr. Williams' own ideas of us. How fitting our ancestors should finally be this big bunch of papers in your big, capable hands. And here we are putting on another layer of drag in this dirty little age you would never have dreamt of. I got a lawyer acquaintance. We'll study this out. Present them to him with a box of aspirin. You know, maybe I need a ghostwriter. Last version, I lost out on a plantation. This time I could write my own deeds to something better. Or a zombie movie, very popular in the 50s. Call it Deepwater Horizon. Man can't drill into the area and all. A zombie movie? Language transports you, but I need the literal crude stuff, baby. Don't you know it's a metaphor? Through the glass lightly. I'll turn on transmissions. Music, sure to lift the spirits. You turn on the enchanted lantern dancing zombie bear. Too much reality in this dump. Let me live neath your spell. Do that voodoo that you do so well. Ha! Pair of queens. Clean up time. Hey, voodoo queen, you think I don't know you summons the zombies through the radio? Stanley, no. You rip her lifeline, I'll expose you. Transmissions, talking to glass, I'm smashing the whole illusion. I'll leave you in the dark. No, baby, I'm putting your lights out. Drill, baby. Drill, baby. Oh, he's killing her. And so, Stanley's plot would crudely reduce a broken heart to a defective valve. The depths around Narland's plundered to run his little streetcar. Nice metaphor. Get him in the shower. He drilled her too hard. Yeah, her life is leaking out. Well, maybe she can come back. A little dead, though. Can an ocean die? Well, some eels can live in dead zones. Shut up, you idiot. What matters is cleaning up the appearance of a disaster. Why doesn't he want to wake up? Well, maybe he's a zombie, too. Yeah, she ripped his shirt. Come on, big boy, come back. Ha, it's pretty clean now and awake. Uh-oh. Let's get the hell out of this haunted house. Oh, so what have I done? I'm not Blanche's Frankenstein monster. This is my movie. Somehow it's getting away from me. Well, you tried to drill her, but you couldn't cap it once you busted. Now you've unleashed indeterminacy. Half dead, half alive. The pharmacon. What's poison is also cure. Like your tears. Should have got an Oscar for this. But you didn't. Trying to reach my connections? Now you think you're Orpheus who can make a deal with the devil, get your love back if you just cry, baby. Oh, in a C-plot movie. Well, you do look a bit like a zombie still. I mean, you look great, but... I told you, the zombie is a cinematic symbol disrupting the line between life and death. Look out yourself. I ripped through your shirt after all. Maybe there is naked truth. When you carry me, Orpheus, don't look back or you'll lose me forever. Forever? Really? Why can't you look back? What do these rips mean? I appreciate you bringing her back. Yes, I promise not to live in the past version of the script. Okay. In fact, we can move into the future now with our own source. You said I can't handle my equipment? Well, I have access to Narland's connections, and they are good. I hope you like this. My new name. 2 words starting with B and P. BP. What? No. Permanent rights to drill anywhere I want in your depths, including your language. Brutal, primitive, burning planet, my language? One train may hide another train. That is, if you're waiting to cross the tracks. Wait for 1 moment at least, after the first train is gone. And so when you read, wait until you've read the next line, and then it's safe to go on reading. Still as mysterious to have an engine that floats bouquets. A family, one sister may conceal another, so when you're courting, it's best to have them all in view. One evening may hide another, one shadow a nest of shadows. One sentence may hide another, and is another as well. Yet always beneath the rainway, unsyntactical beauty might leap up. Thank you all for helping with my transport. Yes, kind sir, you especially. I needed protection, and there you were. With my outer layers intact, I can be Narland's. I feel most alive, dressed as a queen, even one from the underworld. And yet I still see best with my eyes closed, silent, dreaming of who I might be at any given moment. The transport is so personal. But what? A rip in my reverie? I sense reality seeping in like an uninvited intruder. No, it can't be. Not here while I'm in between. How did you cross over? Stella keeps clumsily ripping me little holes. She can't help but give me access. Time to resolve you. I'm not going to one side or the other. It's a diminishment. Well, I, for one, will strip down to the truth. Leave on one layer at least. For now, but I have surprises for later. Too late. Even if you cross through the mirror again, the deed is done. what the Cajuns call solicitation, being shook to the core. Big words, Stanley. You can't get to the core of anything. Plenty remains hidden. Oh, we shook you up, didn't we? Now when we pop you open, woo-wee! Rock it rich! You know, I might drive a guzzler that needs a lot, but it's 11 cup. Go to hell. Maybe where you go, or heaven, dealer's choice for now. Stay away from me. No, Blanche, I have scratched my own sartorial itch, as you say. Guess who I'm dressing up as at the drag ball tonight? When I put these red silks on, you're coming with me. Or you could leave through the front door, alone. Heaven or hell, Blanche, one or the other. What matters is I've figured out how to dress for success, like you. It gives me access. You do not have the right to dress up as yourself, literalist devil. You must cross over with layers. Words. What are you before and after you put on your drag? I don't understand. Oh, you think these old things help me cross over? As a matter of fact, there'll be no more crossing over unless I go. You think cross-dressing's only for guys? Who dress up as like dames? You would deny me the magic of dressing as myself? Oh, I'm literal, all right. Tennessee named me after Stanley Kowalski, a co-worker he wanted to sleep with. You think I don't know who you are underneath all this? What happens when your clothing is ripped? What will you plummet back to, Miss Queen? You know, I've been on to you from the start. Who else makes up names for himself that represent the whole South practically? Tennessee. You or was just Thomas. There's only one person who can revise us, and it sure ain't Blanche or Narlands. You're Tennessee, bitch. Go die again because this script has been signed, sealed, and delivered. Ha ha! Metaphor. Ha ha! Not true. Anything is better than being returned as one thing or another. I'm not Tennessee. I'm not Narlands. I'm writing as death. Flowers for the dead. No. There is one who has even more control over whether you live or die, dear. Benshi? And so it was, I entered the broken world to trace the visionary company of love, its voice, an instant in the wind, I know not whither hurled. But not for long, told each desperate choice. Bless you. Clean up time. Because I could not stop to death, he kindly stopped for me. It's time to go back. It will be simpler there. Or if you prefer, more complex. Whoever you are, I've always depended upon the strangeness of language. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun, and it's been the death of many a girl, and God, I know Thank you.
All right, y'all. Let's keep it going. Danny Unger is a queer Jewish writer and social worker. She grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia, and has spent her adulthood in New Orleans, Louisiana. She is currently in the M.F.A. program at the University of New Orleans studying poetry. Her first chapbook, Dear Egg, was recently published by Tilted House. Give it up for Danny Unger!
There we go. Danny, hi. Thank you so much for having me. Poetry Fest, poetry in New Orleans, two of the best things. The first few are from my chapbook. Have a few with me if anyone wants to look at them. July 1st. Dear Egg, there is a tender region, a few centimeters into my ear canal, that I like to stick my long pinky nail into so that I can scrape at a small, scarred patch of flesh. This action becomes a compulsive self-soothing behavior I can't cease, even sometimes in public, at work even. I've found my body comforts me in its complexity. That tiny spot inside my ear, deep enough that I've never seen it, almost out of reach. July 6th. Dear Egg, not that we are on daily pillow talk terms yet, but my first thought upon waking up today was tiny mirror teeth. By day's end, I was thwarted by my own machine. Have you ever ridden your bike home for a few miles with one flat tire? Busted rubber slapping rhythmically on the concrete? It feels like the fucked up Tour de France. Truthfully though, all beds sometimes feel like finish lines, where my hot take on first place is that nothing has been in any of my holes. Don't worry, I'm being good to myself for myself. July 16th. Dear Egg, according to NOLA.com, someone was injured yesterday when their car drove off the 4th floor of a parking garage downtown. The garage itself recently exploded skyward from a flat-level parking lot in order to support a brand new commercial imaginary. The article read as if the car took its own plunge, right in front of a new trendy brunch place, landing like a dead bug on its back. I bet that it was the loudest sound heard all day, besides the proverbial cha-ching of money changing hands. July 25th. Dear Egg,
dwelling on how many jokes and clever remarks I've wasted on unworthy lovers tonight. Wishing it were something I could quantify and request payment for. Watching men buy frozen bagged meat at that colossal Quickies convenience store while waiting for my buzz to recede is a momentary distraction from my penned-in emotional position. Whether you'd like it or not, I'd like to transmit a live feed of my brain to you so you can see what kind of space I've made for you there. The moon, with its contented fullness, feels like it's letting me off the hook for once. A few more. Back at the Buddhist recovery meeting. I'm neither a practicing Buddhist nor actively in recovery. Just thought I would disclose that before reading this, but a girl can dream. Flouncing through the door late, clutching a canned yerba mate, I think of an inappropriate joke. Don't worry, it's not a beer. Then hastily cage it in my mind. Everyone sits serenely, circularly on a rainbow of bolsters. During the loving kindness meditation, I struggle to think of someone irritating to whom I can channel my equanimity besides me. A recent interview on the Daily drifts into my mind with a young pro-life woman, eagerness saturating her voice after the toppling of Roe versus Wade. I send a perverse version of loving kindness towards her. Our meeting leader's bold tattoo placement and lengthy track record of sobriety inspires jealousy in me. She instructs us to send kindness towards zoomed out things like the entire city and the planet. As her sound rounds the room, my ears catch wise intention and unwholesome acts. Recovery is full of euphemisms, like recovery itself. I prefer to call my unwholesome acts naughty. I fantasize inviting those I've hurt to spank me in lieu of making amends. Now it's time for us to take turns reading from the text. This is not AA, but there is always a text. This one is available for a sliding scale of $6 to $10, but I resist the purchase. Last time I bought the book, continued to imbibe, stashing it in my closet. This time will be different in that I will not buy the book. It is too soon to tell if anything else will be different this time. We close the meeting by sharing a relief to table meditation and absorb the human scoop. At my turn, I make everyone laugh with my scatterbrained rambling. I say fuck for effect and then apologize. The meeting leader shares last. She says something best left anonymous. Besides her final sage reflection that there are so many other satisfying beverages to choose from. I'll do one more. It's a Louisiana poem. Fountain Blue State Park. Cypress trees stretch starkly out of water like tiny vertical islands. On such a radiant afternoon, I can't tell if mushrooms are the catalyst or the adjunct to joy. Gray canopies of moss veil bright green leaves beneath, crowing, let's take this color scheme down a notch. Everything is a little bit psychedelic, a little bit sinister. A juxtaposition that sends some running back to their familiar hills. Giant green fan palms stretch their clawed hands in every direction, poised like monster paparazzi. People unfamiliar with the swamp's surreal attributes might shrug here. A mashup of Britney Spears and Spanish language radio station blares from different acoustic origin as I tread down the lake shore, feet swallowed with every granular immersion. With constellations of people having a hell of a time, I'm grateful for the ability to appreciate a reveling throng again. I count the fathers manning grills, children tackling each other over frisbees, and an energetic man in a Speedo playing 80s pop and gyrating as my family in this discrete internal moment. There is a pond between the lake and the parking lot where an alligator's back hump hovers just above iridescent earth-toned liquid. It is rimmed in plants, an array of greens, a guidebook of different shapes and textures of vegetation. A turtle sits sunning itself on a camouflage log as if hovering gracefully. A fable coalesces in which an alligator and a turtle lie resting, charging in the sun, while I summon the gyrating man in the Speedo to join me in trotting rings around the teeming water hole. After several rotations, the man turns to me and says, "That was fun, but why?" The turtle awakens, staring at the backside of the man's sponge swimsuit and says, "The interval is the impotence. Time is a spell to which we are climatized, basted in." Thank you.
Go for Danny.
It's like the bathroom migration. Next up, we have Tiana Nobile. Nobile! Sorry, them drinks are starting to kick in a little bit. She is the author of Cleave from Hub City Press. She's a Korean-American adoptee, Kunduman Fellow, and a recipient of the Ronald Jaffe Foundation Writers Award. A finalist of the National Poetry Series and Kunduman Poetry Prize. Her writing has appeared in Poetry Northwest, The New Republic, Guernica, and Southern Cultures, among others. A founding member of the Starlings Collective, she lives with her family in New Orleans. For more, visit tiananobile.com. Welcome to the Splice stage.
Hey. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for having me. I think the New Orleans poetry scene is just really thriving right now, and I'm honored to be part of it. I'm going to read one poem from my book that I haven't read in a while, and then a couple of new pieces. So I'm really interested in attachment theory, and while writing my book, I learned about the psychologist Harry Harlow, who did a series of experiments on baby rhesus monkeys to study their relationship with their mothers. So this poem is kind of imagining what could happen if the test subjects took control of the lab. Harlow's monkey. We learned to give ourselves away early on. We used to hide the bruises, used to scratch our arms until they bled, until our body was a weeping wound. The cage exists only in our mind. Kick down the door, matchstick. Whether of wire or terry cloth, we all burn the same. We gasp for air and taste the bitter juice of roses, petals dried and clipped to the pages of our chest. At the feet of our gods, we pile our bones, muscles threaded to flesh. The fresh liquor of unchained thought burning the roof of our mouths, we take back our tongues, drink handfuls of water. In what shallow grave will we bury the words we killed? Amani, Abaji, Daejeon, Moon Young Shin. We deliver them to the dirt mother and her family of worms. The past mushrooms and burns in atomic flush. We sling a new sun from the pit of our stomachs and raise our woolly hands, fingers clenched. So I had a baby last year. And actually it was on this day, exactly a year ago, that labor started. And I didn't know at the time that it would be 3 more days until my baby was actually born. So I wrote a hustle about the second day. Water. I'm in the birth pool in your room, my cheek resting against the blue inflatable wall, my body swollen with water. You are swimming in my amniotic fluid. Outside, the sky spits rain while I rage in the water. It is the end of the second day. Rhea touches my face. She holds a straw up to my lips and to take a sip of water. She places a cool wet cloth on my forehead as I grind my teeth, my face speckled with beads of water. Gentle reminders to breathe, lean in. It's been over 24 hours and it still hasn't ruptured my bag of waters. Ross plays River by Leon Bridges, and I try to manifest a wave pouring out of me in a gush of blood and water. Through the window, I count clouds, pink billowing masses of air and water. I can almost feel you scratching at the walls from the inside. I tell you come, pleading soon. Together, we roar in the water. So now there's like a whole baby. That's this one. Meanwhile, I want to look at the world the way my son looks at his hands, bright and full of wonder. How he finds each piece of fluff tucked under carpet corners and every dirty coin fallen out of a pocket before bringing it directly to his mouth. I watch him test the limits of his body, balancing first on belly, then dragging on forearms, before lifting to hands and knees. Oh, movement, the first sweet taste of autonomy. Now, as he lifts his arms upward, steadies and straightens his legs, thick trunks of the softest tree, he screeches in delight. The pure pleasure of triumph glowing in his cheeks. Meanwhile, a ballroom in Monterey Park. Meanwhile, a farm in Half Moon Bay. An elementary school in Uvalde, a spa in Atlanta, a Baton Rouge nightclub. The corner of Esplanade and North Burgundy last Sunday afternoon. Before, I rode my bicycle without a helmet, drank carelessly with strangers, went to the movies alone to forget myself in the dark. Today, I still live astonished and afraid. This is my last poem, and I'm going to read it because Christine said she likes it.
Yes, I do.
Memory. I can hear them before I see them. The familiar boom of the bass drum, the trumpet's ebullient shriek. Out the window, Warren Easton's marching band walks in step, perfecting their procession for parade season. The streets in the city aren't paved with gold, but are full of leaking pipes and orange cones. Here, the traffic lights only work sometimes. We fill the potholes with heaps of plastic beads, leave our trash out all week praying for a pickup, keep our rain boots by the front door just in case. A whole life to arrive here, a home with a front porch, a fridge covered with magnets, 2 citrus trees. In the morning, we stretch across the bed and touch fingers before opening our eyes. In the evening, I break broccoli heads off at the stem. I pluck blackberries straight from the bush. I'm trying to say that sometimes memory is like a sticker, losing its adhesive. The more we try to keep it, the faster it falls away. Please let me keep this one. Sitting on the porch swing with June, reading him poems, his arms reaching up to pluck a cloud straight from the sky.
most certainly not least, we have, born and raised in New Orleans, Bernardo Wade tries at home, catches elbows on the court, and rides his bike around Bloomington, Indiana, because Indiana University funds his present period of study with others. He currently serves as editor and CNF editor of Indiana Review, though he's published in a bunch of literary journals no one in his family has ever heard of. They remain proud of him, especially when they are featured in his poems. He is infatuated with Ed Roberson's question, can you OD on life? Check out his website, bernardowade.com. Let's give it up for Bernardo Wade.
I just want to thank, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm gonna fight through this. I want to thank the Splice family and all the readers before me. I like to talk about the poems a little bit. I guess you know I think that, right? So this first poem, a friend of mine at a journal asked me to write a poem about jazz. So I listened to this song like an absurd amount of times. It's called Mercy, Mercy, Mercy by Cannonball Adderley. And in the beginning of the poem, of the song, he says, sometimes we're not prepared for adversity. And so, I mean, I really tried to get in that motherfucker. No, I mean, so this is my best attempt at it. I hope. Mercy, mercy, mercy. Sometimes we're not prepared for adversity. Cannonball Adderley. Before the bar stool, toes dangled with sweet inhibition. Don't mind me. Blow the dust off the seat. Look how the roof leaks moonlight, how flowers sprout from the mouth when you speak. It'll teach you to choke down beauty and be discreet. Don't tell daddy, says Judas, sucking ice. He laughs when the cat walks his horn back. To forgive is to retreat. He's got a god up his sleeve. The blood of 1,000 juke joints flow into one glass, and he swallows it neat. Don't believe his rumors. This is how the missionary lost his religion. A cannonball fell out the rock-bottom sky. When it landed, the night knelt, and from its knees it said, mercy, mercy, mercy. Don't worry, I'm gonna get into my New Orleans shit. This was kind of a New Orleans story because, you know, it was one of those wild Mardi Gras love affairs. And a few days later, this person texted me and asked me if I would fly to Paris. And like the irresponsible UNO student that I was. Look, well, I got better, I think. Look, this professor flunked me twice. But that professor taught me what an M.F.A was. And so, yeah, so this poem is kind of born from that experience in Paris. So I went. Like the irresponsible student that I was. Oh, yeah, it changed like 6 years of my life. All right, this is called The Delirium Has Its Way. On the cobblestone steps near the sign, you stuffed your hands in my jacket, kissed me, and whispered en tranche. Faint with Artois and cheap burgundy, I said you tasted like s'il vous plaît. I knew little of the language. This was the problem with Paris. A delirium has its way with us who need to feel. Love is a dim want compared to what it takes to love. It takes faith and gives the mind new gods to shake. I followed in absence in the air. Was it your shadows down there under the bridge? Conspiring with the river, the rats, and the moonlight talking shit. Please tell me you aren't with the man from the bar who gave you his eyes before he left in that city flickering with desire. I couldn't help it. I asked where you went. A cherry burning through the dark. You held the cigarette, so cool, like Le Petit Mort between two fingers. Everything there was an erotic wound from the Middle Ages, those catacombs buried beneath the lights. No, the madness of silence. What could I do? You were still on my breath. I kissed you again and again and again, and you said nothing. Now it's time for those daddy poems, you know?
Daddy!
You're like my real dad. My dad? God? Good segue. You know, my dad said something to me one day, he probably doesn't remember, but he said, don't forget you come from someplace. And I think he's talking about New Orleans, you know, and I think about that a lot, you know. Anyways, now we're in New Orleans, we're there. This poem, it hasn't been announced, but it just won the Third Coast Poetry Prize. Award winner. Okay. This is called Faith or Another Way of Being. And it kind of bleeds into the poem. So, faith or another way of being, sober. My imagination, still picking at wounds, spots in the Sunday second line. My father, dressed like a perfect poor boy with hot sauce bereft of bank teller pleasantries. He needs napkins. He drips on the scene. Tell him I forgive the generation that moonwalked across the yellow brick road. I found the Tin Man humming a few of my favorite things at the daiquiri shop. A man with no heart must find another's drum to beat. Kendrick Lamar said, I got daddy issues. That's on me. A child holds a match to the gasoline of my dreams. Sometimes he's the fear of falling asleep. He's in my feelings. You ever negotiate with an apparition? Putting a thing to rest is not a sign of defeat. My father's epistemology for motherfucker, for drunk, for junkie. I make holy with a rosary strung together with Mardi Gras beads. I ask God to throw me something, mister. By something, I mean mercy. All right, like a good New Orleans poet, I gotta have a hurricane poem. So this is a poem about Ida and my dad. He'll be over after this, I promise. Okay, this is called In the Wake of Ida. When my father calls, I tell him the damage, how the bricks, so many of them now in the street, lie prostrate, faithful to the earth again. How Ida darkened the sky, throwing light at our feet like doubloons until she swept the city beneath her eye, trapping us. Like the tree limb that fell through the window into the kitchen. He pines. I know he'll take this as a sign. Now in LA, he says, look at God, like a man spared. I want to say, look, you are gray, the world is drowning, and I am afraid. Can't you see these ruins, your mistakes? Instead, I say, I love you. and noticed the dawn's first light breaks. Such innocence. This is the real madness with a hurricane. The next day, the sun comes out like a parrot, like nothing ever happened. All right, I feel like this one needs no introduction. I'm sorry, I have two more. I'm close. I promise it's over. All right, this is called, those are, okay. This is called This Shit Is Not Interesting.
Yeah.
Henry likes this one. What the yeah. Woo! All right. Sometimes when it's this dark, I light a match and let it burn my fingertips while I watch the flame. This is what I know about memory. It flickers when it feels like it. I've tried to forget that bare knuckle night I left work, thanking Nick for the quality of his daiquiris. He had a toothy smile. He's gone now. A story for another time. I knew I should have stayed for a drink, but I left to find Slim before the achy chills crept their way down my neck. Here, I want to remind you of the time Richard Pryor lights a match, you know. At the end of Live on the Sunset Strip, he says, "What is that?" Richard Pryor running down the street. And boom, he's taught us to admire another's defeat. People love their boogeymen to step into the light, laugh at the first stone thrown, paying for a seat. This shit is not interesting. Unless you know. I'm sorry, this shit is not interesting. To the ones who know, off stage, Pryor danced on the teeth of his deceits, slipping into spells of God please. And I, who disappeared that week, got her text and flew across town because I knew this time she was serious. She'd thrown my shit behind the dumpster, a place I won't soon forget. Hold on. Let's say a prayer for the brothers who don't make it. God, bless those whose hot blood find a blue light knives through the night. Amen to the men who bare teeth, who fight. Thus, when I turned down the one-way on Dergenois Street, the same street 9 years later, I mourned a beloved killed by a drunk driver, a driver who could have been me. I saw those cops and I thought, run. But then thought, gun. So instead pulled over thinking, shit, I'm in for it, Lori. Knew it was my turn to boogeyman into the light. So I lifted my hands just right. Fingers spread so wide, you might have thought I was the flame. I imagined the match Pryor lights for the crowd. Its sulfur smelled like good night. When I heard 12 close the door, I felt the weight of Slim's package. Enough for a bid. Wedged in my waistband, hidden, unlike my belongings strewn about the street. Then he said, move, and you're done. Before I blinked, the click of cuffs snapped against my wrist. He pulled my shirt just so, and I felt the waistband flick. Fuck! Fell from my lips as I watched the little bag of powder drift between me and the 12 with fire. When he smiled, I heard a round of applause. Pryor holds the match, and I swear I seen him flinch. I wasn't surprised when I saw resisting arrest on those multicolored sheets. Ain't but a few hours of peacocking before I felt that familiar ache. Cold sweats, Jones. A yearn for death filled my stomach as I crouched down near a man who, after 30 minutes of complaining about his baby mama's expired tags, noticed the animal writhing. A lie so childlike I can almost taste my mother's gumbo on Christmas Day, and how a soft blanket might feel against my skin. I know. This shit is not interesting. Unless you know the warmth that comes when a stranger takes his coat and covers your body on a jailhouse floor. actually a poem about leaving jail that time. It's called 10 Minutes Before They Released Me from OPP, or Orleans Parish Prison. Yeah. I was moved to a holding cell, no bigger than 6 by 9, where the one window was swollen shut. The boy's face busted, so fresh, the only movement he made was a slight working of his tongue, moving the blood from his lip down his throat. Then I noticed the latex gloves, filled and tied with what I assumed was days' worth of his waste. It was a stench, so wrenching, I couldn't feel the sweet relief. I'd soon be set free. I wanted to hold him. No, I'm sorry. That's not real. I wanted to alleviate something in me. We both knew he, still as stone, was desperate for the last decent thing, to be left alone.